1987 saw the release of Werewolf, an American TV show based on, of course, a werewolf. Now this ran for 29 episodes, the first episode being a kind of an extended feature episode. It was released in the UK as actually a movie. Now, on the UK box art, it would say stuff like, from the special effects creators of American Werewolf in London. And at the time, we didn't know any better. We just thought it was a film. And I actually really enjoyed the movie. And I actually didn't realise it was a TV show until a little bit later on when it started to air on British TV. But this was a few years after the VHS was released as a kind of film. And the story here is you have a young man. The character's name is Eric Corden. He's played by John J. York, I think the actor's name is. And in the pilot episode, he's bitten by a werewolf. And this original werewolf is actually a friend of his who kind of asks Eric to kill him because he can't sort of control these sort of animalistic instincts that he's sort of getting. And he basically is cursed with the werewolf curse, really. And essentially, the rest of the series, Eric has a number of goals. First and foremost, he's basically trying to sever the bloodline, which, as far as he's concerned, is the only way to actually cure himself of this kind of werewolf disease. Secondly, he's trying not to hurt any innocent people. Now, we're sort of told in the pilot episode, when you first are bitten by the werewolf, you have a degree of control. Not a huge amount, but there's enough to kind of maybe not hurt innocent people and things like that. And then lastly, he's pursued by a kind of bounty hunter called Alamo Joe, played by Lance de Gault, I think his name is. And essentially he's trying to sort of get away from him pretty much the whole series. Now, if this sort of premise sounds kind of familiar, it very much reminds me of the 1970s Incredible Hulk TV show. And it really is pretty much the same. You've got a guy who sort of turns into a monster. You've got someone who's following him. In the Incredible Hulk, you had the reporter. And basically, you've got someone who's trying to find a cure, and every episode he's kind of ends up dealing with a kind of problem that he ends up solving by turning into a monster. So it really is kind of a remake of the Incredible Hulk show, but with just a sort of supernatural twist. Now, that's not a criticism, to be honest, it's more of an observation. Now, I actually really enjoyed this TV show, or as I originally saw it as the kind of the pilot episode, as a movie, as we first thought it was. Now, I have to say, obviously, it has dated. This is 1987. The effects have dated quite badly, but at the time, I thought they were very good. And I really like the actual look of the werewolf. They actually look more like kind of grizzly bears. The effects, okay, you can kind of see they're obviously just sort of people in suits, and the actual mouths don't really move a whole lot. But the actual aesthetics of it, I thought were pretty decent. And the pilot episode, I really enjoyed and watched it a number of times. Obviously, back then I thought it was just a kind of film. It is relatively self-contained. Obviously, it does leave it open, for the series. I have to say, though, as the series kind of got on, it kind of got a little bit samey. Basically, you have Eric's kind of quest to try and find Skorzynski, who he believes is the original bloodline starter. And he's the one that can sort of be killed, and ultimately it's to sort of lift the curse. However, due to some production issues with the actor who plays Skorzynski, they kind of had to sort of change it up a little bit, because apparently the actor was a little bit too demanding, wanting more screen time and more money and things like that. And eventually they had to kind of rewrite it, and kind of actually he got kicked off the show apparently, and they had to sort of recast him with someone who looks blatantly different. And then they actually had a kind of a new bad guy played by Brian Thompson as a kind of a almost more sort of superior, older werewolf than even Skorzynski. However, the one thing I would say about this show, it never really ended. It got kind of cancelled with no resolution. So the last episode 29, is really just a kind of one of these sort of episodic episodes, and doesn't kind of actually sort of take the show to a conclusion, unfortunately, which is a shame. You do have a couple of what they call mythology episodes sort of dotted around, but for the most part, this TV series is very episodic. Now, if you're kind of a fan of these kind of 80s shows and you haven't really heard of this one, as I say, it had a very limited run here in the UK. It was on a channel called sort of Sky, who was a satellite channel which not a lot of people had, and it's worth tracking down, especially the pilot episode, which you can kind of watch as a feature-length sort of movie, and it has some very cool 80s moments in it. And actually the special effects are surprisingly good for the time and the TV budget. The initial transformation of the guy who bites Eric into a werewolf, I think is really, really good. And even now, some of the sort of effects that they use for that are pretty decent. It has some great music in it. I thought the kind of cast was likeable. I have to say, I thought Alamo Joe's character was a little bit weighted. He never really seemed to do a hell of a lot. Throughout the movie, throughout the series, we do see a couple of other kind of werewolves from here and there, which is kind of quite nice. But sometimes when the werewolves end up having a fight, you can't really see which werewolf you're kind of rooting for, i.e. Eric Cord's werewolf. Nevertheless, I do think as a series it's kind of enjoyable. It does get a little bit samey because it is kind of the same thing. Eric just basically goes and saves some kind of poor dude or poor woman, and then kind of doesn't get his cure and ends up having to sort of move on. Very much like the Incredible Hulk. But definitely check out the pilot episode. I'm going to give this series as a whole a 6.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed it, but it just, it gets a little bit boring, I have to say, if you're kind of watching the whole 29 episodes. But watch the pilot episode, I think it's brilliant, and I'll give the pilot episode on its own probably like an 8. What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.